Black CEO insulted by luxury showroom director 48 hours later, her $6B empire crashed. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. You can't afford this. His voice cracked through the crystal air like glass shattering under pressure. Every chandelier seemed to tremble. The entire showroom froze, rows of cars gleaming like silent witnesses under white light. Amara Lewis didn't move. She stood in a burnt orange dress, a simple leather purse in one hand, phone in the other. Her skin glowed against the marble floor, calm and unreadable. Across from her, Richard Dean's showroom director, ego polished to match the chrome behind him, pointed a finger inches from her face. "Ma'am," he hissed, "this brand doesn't cater to your kind." Behind him, laughter burst. A young associate in a gray suit couldn't hold it, and her laugh bounced off the glass walls, sharp and cruel. Cameras caught the reflection. Black woman, rich space, wrong assumptions. No one spoke. Not the customers sipping champagne. Not the intern by the glass door who looked like she wanted to vanish. Just the echo of power misused. Amara's eyes flicked toward the silver Aston Martin behind him. Calm, detached, calculating. "That's a bold statement for someone selling dreams," she said softly. Richard sneered. "Dreams? Sweetheart, this isn't a dream. This is reality. You're standing in a $6 million showroom." "Exactly," she replied. "And reality changes fast." He didn't get it. None of them did. Her phone buzzed once in her hand, a silent vibration, almost like a pulse. Somewhere, a server confirmed her location. A protocol began ticking down. But here, in this overlit temple of arrogance, no one could feel the storm forming. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Amara. Richard circled her like a wolf testing prey. "You see that model?" he said, pointing at a matte black supercar. "That's 1,200 horsepower. People with real money don't walk in here wearing cotton dresses." Amara tilted her head. "And people with real class don't need to shout." The laughter stopped. For the first time, silence held power. The associate shifted uncomfortably, realizing the room had turned. But Richard kept going. Louder now, feeding off habit, not reason. "You think you can buy something like this? You probably don't even know the difference between finance and lease." Amara smiled faintly, a slow, knowing smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're right," she said. "I don't lease." He blinked, confusion flickering just enough for her to turn away. Slow and deliberate, her heels tapping like metronomes of control. No drama, no raised voice, just gravity. The intern by the window whispered to no one in particular, "She's not what they think she is." But it was too late. Richard had made his move. And in 48 hours, every light in this showroom would dim, not because of power failure, but because the empire behind his arrogance was about to collapse. The countdown had already started. The moment hung heavy like perfume and pride refusing to fade. Amara didn't look back as Richard barked to his team, "Make sure she's escorted out. We don't waste time with window shoppers." He said it loud enough for everyone to hear, loud enough to humiliate. The young intern, Tessa, flinched. She'd seen arrogance before, but not this sharp, not this public. Amara turned, slow, composed. Her eyes swept the room from the laughing associate to the silent crowd, and then landed on a silver badge clipped to Richard's blazer. "Vantage Motors, Regional Director." She read it once, quietly, as if memorizing a mistake. "You should be careful with the way you speak," she said. "Some customers remember names." Richard smirked, mistaking warning for weakness. "Oh, I hope you do. Maybe you'll learn what real clients look like." Behind him, the young associate chuckled again. The sound echoed off the marble like nails against glass. Richard turned to the security guard by the entrance. "Show her the door, please." And to the 7. The guard hesitated just a beat, as if something in Amara's stillness unsettled him. She wasn't angry. She wasn't small. She was present, the way a storm is present before thunder speaks. Amara looked up at the chandelier above them, thousands of lights refracted across chrome and glass. Beautiful, she murmured. Expensive too, I'm sure. Richard crossed his arms. And out of your budget, I'm sure. That was the line. The crowd tensed, as if the air had cracked. But instead of replying, Amara tapped a single message on her phone. To Janelle EA. Text. Confirm asset evaluation on Vantage Motors Group. Send report in 2 hours. She slipped the phone back into her purse. Her tone softened to something almost kind. You should have offered me coffee, she said. Would have looked better in the report. Richard frowned. What report? Never mind, Amara replied, stepping aside as the security guard reached for her. You'll see it soon enough. As she walked out, the cameras by the glass doors caught her reflection posture straight, head high, expression unreadable. It wasn't the walk of someone denied, it was the walk of someone deciding. Tessa, the intern, exhaled shakily. That didn't feel right. The associate laughed. Relax, happens every week. But Tessa couldn't. She looked back toward the door, where sunlight flooded in behind Amara's silhouette. Something about that calm made her chest tighten. Outside, Amara paused by a black car waiting at the curb. The driver opened the door. Bad meeting? He asked softly. She smiled faintly. No. Perfect meeting. Exactly what I needed. She got in. The car door shut with the soft finality of a gavel. Inside the showroom, Richard was already bragging. These people love drama. She'll post a video, get a few likes, then vanish. The associate added, can't buy class even with a credit card. Is the Rain brand. They laughed again, unaware that their words were being recorded by the showroom's own CCTV system footage that would later play on every major network in the country. At that moment, far away in a high-rise office overlooking the city, Janelle received Amara's message. She didn't hesitate. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Asset evaluation. Vantage Motors Group. Pending acquisition, potential priority red. She smiled slightly, murmuring, they really picked the wrong woman today. In the gleaming showroom, Richard poured himself another glass of champagne and toasted the air. To real clients, he said. The laughter returned. The light flickered. And somewhere between arrogance and consequence, the clock started counting down from 48 hours. By the next morning, the clip had already surfaced online, not from Amara. From someone else, shaky phone footage shot from the back corner of the showroom. The caption read, Luxury director screams at woman for not affording his cars. Within hours, it had crossed 3 continents. Richard Dean didn't care. He sat in his office, blinds half closed, scrolling through the comments with a self-satisfied grin. Publicity is publicity, he muttered. People forget by Monday. But the door opened, and Tessa, the intern, stepped in, voice unsteady. Sir, corporate PR just called. They said someone from Luxao requested our sales data. Richard laughed. Let them. We've got nothing to hide. He turned back to his reflection in the glass wall, fixing his tie. You can't cancel class, kid. Down the street, 32 floors above ground level, Amara stood before a wall of glass, looking out over the city. The skyline reflected in her eyes like chess pieces in motion. Her assistant Janelle approached, tablet in hand. We pulled their financials. They're deep in leveraged expansion, 6 dealerships, high debt ratio, poor compliance record. Amara didn't blink. And their director? Richard Dean, 47. Promoted too fast, too proud. Internal reports of misconduct buried under PR gloss. Amara's lips curved slightly, not joy, just precision. 48 hours then. Keep it quiet until the acquisition clears. Understood. In the distance, thunder rolled. Even though the forecast promised clear skies. The kind of thunder that warned something structural was about to give way. Back at Vantage Motors, Tessa stood by the espresso machine, pretending to make coffee. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the viral video again. Every frame burned, Richard shouting, the associate laughing, the woman's calm stillness. She couldn't stop thinking about it. Her coworker nudged her. Still on that? She's probably some wannabe influencer, Tessa whispered. Or maybe not. Her phone buzzed an email from Luxao Group HR Division. Subject line, Confidential Staff Audit Coordination. She stared at it, confused. Meanwhile, Richard was busy giving an interview to a local luxury magazine, playing the victim. The internet overreacts. Our brand serves clients who understand exclusivity, he said, voice dripping with control. The journalist smiled politely, but her recorder captured everything. What Richard didn't know was that the journalist was also a freelance contributor for Forbes Business Watch, a publication that loved irony, especially when arrogance met accountability. That evening, Janelle returned to Amara's office. Contracts are ready. Acquisition board approved. Once we sign tomorrow, every Vantage dealership becomes Luxout property. Amara nodded. Perfect. Keep the press embargo until the ink dries. She turned away, gaze distant. You know, Janelle, every empire falls the same way, not by market loss, but by manners. Janelle smiled softly. And you just handed them both. Amara's phone buzzed again, a notification from social media. The clip had reached 2 million views. Hashtag trending. Number you can't afford this. She scrolled through the comments briefly, some angry, some inspired, most shocked, then locked the screen. No need to respond, she said. Let the noise grow. We'll answer in silence. That night, while the city lights flickered across her penthouse window, Amara poured herself a glass of water and opened a thin folder labeled Acquisition Protocol, read. Inside, a single printed line read, Strategic Retaliation Through Ownership Transfer. She signed the final approval with steady handwriting. Outside, lightning flashed across the horizon. Brief, brilliant, inevitable. In less than 24 hours, Richard Dean would wake up to an email he could never laugh off. And for now, the storm simply waited behind glass, counting down. Morning came polished and cruel, all shine, no warmth. The showroom floor gleamed like nothing had happened. Cars lined in precision, glass wiped spotless, arrogance restored. Richard Dean adjusted his cufflinks in the reflection of a midnight blue Aston Martin, humming under his breath. He believed in appearances. The mirror always told him he was in control. Sir, said the receptionist nervously, corporate hasn't replied about yesterday's video. Should we? Richard cut her off with a wave. Don't worry about a clip. People post nonsense all the time. He smiled into the glass again. You don't climb to the top by apologizing to every emotional stranger with a phone. But as he spoke, the showroom's massive LED display flickered. For a second, the brand logo stuttered Vantage Motors, blinking like a failing heart. The IT team rushed to fix it, unaware that the cause wasn't a glitch. It was a merger protocol, quietly replacing digital assets one by one. Across the city, inside the Luxio Tower, Janelle entered Amara's office carrying a small leather folder. It's done, she said simply. Final papers executed. We own Vantage Motors in full. The transfer went live at 9:02 a.m. Amara didn't look up from her cup of black coffee. She simply said, How's the market reacting? Stocks are up 6 points. Media embargo holds for now, but once the press release hits, every outlet from Business Daily to Auto World will pick it up. Amara nodded, slow and deliberate. Good. Let arrogance be the last thing they read before the floor drops. She stood, adjusting her blazer, the quiet authority of someone who didn't need to raise her voice to be heard. Book me a visit, she said. The same showroom. One last look before it changes names. Janelle blinked. Today? Amara's lips curved. No better day to teach gravity how to fall. At Vantage Motors, the laughter had returned. The associate, the same one who'd mocked Amara, scrolled through her phone and smirked. Look, the clip's viral, she said. Someone tagged you, boss. Richard chuckled. They think we're racist because we have standards. People love a villain. That's why I'll be on TV next week to control the narrative. He winked at her. Maybe I'll even mention you. The door chimed softly. No one looked up at first, just another potential customer. Until the air changed. The rhythm of her heels was familiar. Steady, deliberate. Richard turned. For a moment he froze. Amara stood at the entrance again, same calm, same dress code simplicity, but something was different. Her presence filled the space like new architecture. You again? Richard said, recovering fast. I told you we're not running charity tours today. The associate laughed quietly behind him. Amara's eyes traveled across the room, over the polished cars, the staff pretending not to watch. I'm not here for a tour, she said. Richard crossed his arms. Then what do you want? Amara smiled faintly. Ownership, he frowned. The word not computing. Excuse me? Behind her, Janelle entered, tablet in hand, security badge gleaming. She didn't speak, just handed Richard a sealed envelope. He tore it open, confident it was another complaint letter. But as his eyes scanned the header, his smirk dissolved. Acquisition notice. Vantage Motors Group is now a fully owned subsidiary of Luxacuto Group. Signed, Amara Lewis, Chairwoman and CEO. The paper trembled in his hand. This, this can't be. It can, Amara said softly. It's been processing since the moment you pointed your finger in my face. Gasps rippled through the staff. The intern, Tessa, clutched her tablet to her chest, wide-eyed. Amara stepped closer, voice low and deliberate. You told me I couldn't afford it, she said. Turns out I bought it. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was history correcting itself. And outside the glass walls, the first reporters were already arriving. Cameras ready, sensing that the real story hadn't even begun. The letter trembled in Richard's hand like it was burning through the paper. For a moment, no one breathed. The hum of air conditioning became thunder. Then, as if denial could still buy time, he laughed brittle, hollow. This is some kind of stunt, he said. You're bluffing. Amara didn't answer. She simply walked further into the showroom, tracing her fingers along the curve of a silver hood. The movement was calm, precise the same way she'd built her empire. You think you can just walk in here and say you own us? He barked. I don't think, she said quietly. I sign. Janelle handed him a second document, digital this time. On her tablet, the logo at the top no longer read Vantage Motors. It read Luxa Auto Group Premium Division. Richard's reflection appeared beneath it, his own name now under pending termination review. He stepped back, eyes darting between the screen and Amara. This isn't legal, he whispered. It's business, she said. The kind you mocked yesterday. The associate, the one who had laughed loudest, suddenly straightened her blazer, her smirk dissolving. Ma'am, I didn't know. Amara turned toward her, eyes cool. You didn't need to, that's the problem. It is Leschens Schans and the Nether in Arenden. Cameras flashed outside as journalists crowded against the glass. Someone had leaked the acquisition minutes ago. Headlines were already forming. Vantage Motors sold overnight, new owner reportedly involved in viral bias clip. Inside, the staff shuffled awkwardly, whispering. The security guard who had tried to escort Amara out now stood frozen near the door, guilt flickering behind his eyes. Richard's voice cracked. You planned this. You used me for PR. Amara met his gaze. No, Richard. I used your words to reveal your world. She paused, letting the sentence breathe. The internet only amplified what was already true. Tessa, the intern, finally stepped forward, voice trembling. Ma'am, I remember you told him to be careful with names. Amara looked at her, something almost gentle in her tone. And you remembered. That's how things change. The young woman blinked, unsure if she'd just been praised or warned. Janelle's voice broke the silence. Corporate transition is effective immediately. Mr. Dean, your access credentials have been revoked. Please hand over your ID badge. The color drained from his face. You can't. Actually, Amara interrupted, I can. You called security on your employer, the staff murmured, shifting uneasily. The hierarchy had inverted so fast it left gravity gasping. Amara turned slightly toward the crowd. To the rest of you, you'll have choices. Stay and rebuild this company with integrity, or leave with him and carry the weight of yesterday's laughter. No one moved. The silence wasn't fear, it was awakening. Richard's hands shook as he set his badge on the desk. You ruined me, he hissed. Amara stepped closer, her voice steady but cutting. No, Richard, you built this ruin yourself. I just turned on the lights. For a heartbeat, he looked like he might speak again, to beg, to fight, to justify. But nothing came. Only the dull clink of his cufflink hitting the floor as he stormed toward the exit, the sound small against the vast glass room he no longer owned. Amara exhaled softly, not triumph but release. Janelle, she said, initiate rebranding. Strip the name. Keep the lesson. Outside, the reporters' questions collided with one another, flashes of white, voices of outrage and awe. Inside, the new silence was different. It wasn't submission. It was respect being reborn from wreckage. Amara turned toward the intern, the only one still standing near her. Take a deep breath, she said. You're witnessing how arrogance ends not with shouting, but with paperwork. And with that, She walked toward the same door that once tried to push her out, each step echoing like a verdict. The automatic doors hissed shut behind Richard Dean, slicing the noise of the street into silence. Inside, Amara stood still in the echo of his absence. Her heels clicked once on the marble, the only sound brave enough to exist. "Ma'am," Janelle said quietly. "Press is waiting outside." Amara shook her head. "Let them wait. The story's already written." She turned to face the staff, a sea of uneasy faces. Their uniforms gleamed, but their certainty didn't. Every one of them knew they'd been part of something ugly, and now it was reflected in the mirrors around them. Amara walked to the center of the showroom, stopping beside the same car Richard had used to humiliate her. She rested her hand on its roof, her voice even. "Yesterday this was his stage," she said. "Today it's a mirror, so look." No one moved. The associate who had laughed the loudest swallowed hard, mascara trembling. The security guard looked down, shame heavy as his uniform. Tessa, the intern, took a hesitant step forward. "Ma'am," she whispered. I didn't do anything." Amara met her eyes. "And that's the point. Doing nothing is how injustice keeps its job." Her tone wasn't cruel, it was surgical. It cut, but it taught. Janelle handed her a sleek tablet. "Live numbers are in." Vantage's social feed hit 15 million impressions since this morning. Amara nodded slowly. "Good. That's not scandal. That's data." She glanced at the nearest camera, security lens blinking red. "And now, data has a conscience." Outside, the press began shouting questions through the glass. "Miss Lewis, was this revenge? Are you confirming you own the company now? Do you have a message for the director?" Amara didn't turn to them. Instead, she looked to her team. "Let the silence answer." The associate finally broke down. "I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. "We didn't mean to." Amara cut her gently. "Intent doesn't erase impact." She gestured around. "Do you see this showroom? It's built on polished glass, leather, light, but without respect it's just reflections of fear." In a crabble de sterm, the crowd fell quiet again. The air itself felt heavier, as if even the oxygen understood hierarchy had shifted. Then Amara spoke to Janelle, voice measured. "Send the termination notice to all upper management who signed off on his behavior, and double the pay of the lowest salaried staff. They've carried more weight than their bosses ever did." "Yes, ma'am." Tessa blinked in disbelief. "You're keeping us?" Amara nodded. "Those who learn, stay. Those who don't, repeat." Outside, the first thunder of rain hit the glass soft, but insistent. The weather had turned gray, as if the city itself was washing off its arrogance. Amara moved toward the front doors. The press surged forward, cameras flashing like lightning. She paused, her reflection multiplying across the glass facade. One woman, 100 images, all steady. "Miss Lewis," a journalist shouted. "What's next?" Amara's lips curved slightly. "Accountability," she said. "And coffee." The doors slid open. She stepped into the rain, letting it crown her calm. Behind her, the staff watched through the glass as their new CEO disappeared into the storm. The intern whispered, almost reverently, "She didn't yell once." Janelle replied softly, "She didn't need to. She owns the silence now. It is not world and never and in them sane." And as the rain poured harder, washing the marble clean, the sign Vantage Motors flickered one last time, then vanished into Luxioto. The rebrand was live. The empire hadn't fallen. It had been claimed. By dawn, the city was humming with her name. Billboards hadn't even caught up, but everyone already knew. The woman they'd mocked in silken silence now owned half the skyline. Amara's face appeared across financial networks, not from an interview, from leaked footage of her walking through the rain outside the showroom. Umbrella untouched, no captions needed. The image spoke for itself. In the newsroom of Business Daily, a producer muttered, "She didn't fire back, she bought the weapon." And somewhere in a dim bar uptown, Richard Dean watched it all play on a flickering TV. His tie was gone. His pride, too. The bartender slid a glass his way without asking, pity laced in the gesture. "You really yelled at the owner?" Richard didn't answer. He just stared at the ticker on the screen. Luxotto Group finalizes acquisition. New CEO promises culture audit. He chuckled the sound, bitter, rusted. 48 hours, he whispered. That's all it took. Meanwhile, at LUS Auto headquarters, the boardroom was already full. Executives whispered in low tones as Amara entered. No entourage, no spectacle. Just that same quiet authority that made entire rooms adjust their posture. "Morning," she said simply. The chair at the head of the table slid back with a soft scrape. "First order of business. Every franchise under our name will undergo ethics retraining. Every manager will reapply for their own job." Murmurs rippled. One older executive cleared his throat. "With respect, ma'am, that's going to cause panic." Amara looked at him. Then let panic teach what comfort never did. Janelle projected the footage, the viral clip, unedited. The sound filled the boardroom. "You can't afford this." The words that started everything. The room fell silent. Some looked away. Some clenched fists under the table. "This," Amara said quietly, "is not a PR problem. It's a mirror. And from now on, every showroom, every lobby, every face that carries our logo will reflect something better." Her voice didn't rise, it sharpened. "We sell luxury, but dignity isn't an accessory." Janelle clicked to the next slide, a photo of Tessa, the intern, helping calm guests after the confrontation. Amara gestured toward it. "That's leadership. Not the title, the action." The board took notes silently. Amara stood, gathering her folder. "Rebrand launches tomorrow. Vantage is history. Luxio Elite begins." As she left the room, the executives rose instinctively, not out of protocol, but gravity. At the showroom, the new signage was being installed. Workers peeled the old logo off the facade. Inside, employees wiped away the last of the old branding, nervous but hopeful. Tessa oversaw it quietly, clipboard in hand. She wasn't an intern anymore. She'd been promoted overnight to customer relations lead. She watched as the last letter V fell from the glass, leaving a faint outline like a ghost. "Good riddance," she murmured. Her phone buzzed an internal message from Amara. "Thank you for speaking when it mattered, even if it was after. Keep that instinct." Tessa smiled, small but proud. Outside, traffic slowed as people stopped to take photos of the new sign. A passerby whispered, "That's her place now," the woman from the video. And inside, amid the scent of polish and rain, the energy had shifted. The same floor that once echoed with laughter at someone's expense now carried something heavier: respect. Across town, Amara watched from her office window. The storm had cleared, sunlight glinting off the skyscraper glass. She didn't smile. She simply exhaled. Because this wasn't victory. It was restoration. And sometimes, the quiet after humiliation is louder than revenge itself. By midweek, Amara's inbox looked like a battlefield of curiosity. CNN, Bloomberg, BBC, all fighting for a quote. She ignored them all. Her assistant Janelle entered the office holding a thin envelope instead of a tablet. "Old school," she said, hand-delivered. From the Global Review, Amara took it, breaking the seal with her thumb. Inside a single printed line. "We don't want your statement. We want your silence on record." She smiled slightly. "Clever. They're asking for an exclusive interview," Janelle said. "You could redefine the narrative. Inspire." "No," Amara interrupted softly. "Let the story breathe without me. The world needs to talk to itself for once." She turned toward the glass wall, watching the city pulse below. Every skyscraper seemed to shimmer with possibility and history. Across town, Richard Dean was pacing outside a lawyer's office, suit wrinkled, reputation in ruins. He'd lost not only his title but every offer that came after. No one wanted a man whose name was synonymous with arrogance in 4K. He lit a cigarette he didn't even smoke. "They can't erase me," he muttered. A voice behind him said, "You erased yourself." He turned. It was Tessa. She had come out of the same building, holding a folder of new onboarding documents from Luxio. "What are you doing here?" he asked sharply. "Orientation," she said simply. "They kept some of us. Not all." Richard exhaled smoke and regret. "So now you work for her?" Tessa shrugged. "I work for what she stands for." He laughed bitterly. "That's cute. Just wait until she turns on you too." "She doesn't turn," Tessa replied. "She transforms." She walked off without looking back. Richard watched her go, then glanced at his own reflection in the building's glass, thinner, smaller, forgotten. At Luxo O2 headquarters, Amara was reviewing employee footage from various branches. Different faces, different accents, same question repeated by HR staff. "What does respect look like to you?" And said them. Her fingers paused on one clip, an older salesman in Detroit saying, "It's when someone doesn't need to prove they belong." She replayed it twice, then closed the tablet. Janelle entered again, hesitant. The press is cornering you online. They're calling it the 48-hour empire. People want to know what your message is. Amara poured herself tea. Then write this down for them, she said. Janelle raised a brow, stylus ready. Amara spoke slowly, each word shaped like a weight. Power isn't about revenge. It's about correction. She paused. And correction takes grace. Meanwhile, the new Luxo Elite showroom opened quietly that afternoon. No red carpet, no champagne, just music low, lighting soft, and a plaque on the wall that read, "Every client deserves presence before purchase." Tessa stood beneath it, greeting guests. She wore no badge, only confidence. When a woman asked about the motto, she smiled. It's what happens when leadership learns empathy. Back in her office, Amara's phone buzzed with one final notification, not a call, not a message. A tag on social media, the same video that started it all, now reframed by a user captioned, "She never yelled, she never cursed, she just changed the company." Amara watched it once more, Richard's finger pointing, her calm silence, the rain, the rebrand. Then she whispered to herself, almost like a prayer, "This isn't about cars, it's about control reclaimed." Outside, thunder rolled again, soft, approving, and inside the glass tower, Amara leaned back in her chair, eyes half closed, ready for the next storm. 3 days later, the newly rebranded showroom looked nothing like the scene of its own humiliation. The walls gleamed a cleaner white. The logo, Lux Auto Elite, stretched elegantly across the glass in brushed gold. And yet, beneath the polished calm, everyone still felt the ghost of that day. The sound of Richard's voice, the weight of Amara's silence. Tessa was reviewing sales reports when the door sensors chimed softly. She looked up and froze. It was her. Amara Lewis stepped inside, no entourage, no cameras, just presence. Her black suit was minimalist, the kind of confidence that doesn't need decoration. The entire staff straightened instinctively. "Miss Lewis," Tessa said, breathless. "We didn't expect you." Amara's lips curved. That's usually when lessons stick. She walked across the floor slowly, every step measured. The new team, diverse, composed, alert, followed her with quiet eyes. The scent of polish lingered, but so did something new. Respect. Amara paused beside the same car she'd touched before, the silver model that had once been Richard's prop for cruelty. Its surface mirrored her face now, but the reflection was softer, fuller. "Beautiful work," she said. "You've changed the energy in here." Tessa nodded, almost proud. "We tried to make it what it should have been." Amara turned toward the staff. "Tell me," she asked calmly, "what's different?" The associate, the same woman who had once laughed, stepped forward nervously. "Everything, ma'am. We start by listening now." Amara nodded. "Good start. Keep doing that, even when no one's filming." The room exhaled. Janelle entered with a folder. "New proposals for expansion," she said quietly. "Investors are watching what you'll do next." Amara smiled faintly. "Let them watch. This isn't about expansion. It's about example." She turned back to Tessa. "Do the employees know why I bought this chain?" "Because they disrespected you," Tessa said softly. Amara's eyes narrowed, not angry, just sharp. "No, I bought it because they disrespected themselves." She let that sink in. Every head lowered, understanding slowly catching up. Then she looked at the plaque on the wall. "Every client deserves presence before purchase." She traced her finger along the edge of the gold letters. "Keep that clean," she said. "Not just the metal, the meaning." Outside, a small crowd had gathered again, but this time there were no shouts, no cameras raised in outrage. Only applause as the new banner unfurled across the street. Lux Auto Elite. Built by grace, driven by justice. Amara stepped to the window and watched for a moment. The reflection of the city shimmered over her shoulder. "It's strange," she murmured to Janelle. "How silence can echo louder than shouting." Janelle nodded. "That's why it works." Before leaving, Amara stopped by the reception desk. The same security guard from that infamous day stood there, now still employed. Quieter. Changed. He straightened immediately. "Miss Lewis, She raised a hand gently. "You already said sorry. Now say consistent." He nodded, eyes misting. "Yes, ma'am. It is an bisa climb. It is a wrong on otherwise." Amara stepped back toward the door, her reflection merging with the gold logo behind her. "Remember this," she said softly. "Power doesn't live in titles. It lives in choices." Then she walked out. Into sunlight this time, no storm, no crowd, just light. And as the doors closed behind her, Tessa whispered to no one in particular, "She turned our punishment into purpose." The showroom stood quiet again, but it no longer felt haunted. It felt awake. Within a week, the story had traveled beyond business pages. Universities cited it in ethics lectures. Influencers stitched it into videos titled, "The Power of Stillness." It muzzled canop. And in offices, cafes, even airports, people whispered the same line Amara had said, "Power doesn't live in titles. It lives in choices." At Luxa Auto headquarters, the reception wall now displayed a looping video montage, not of cars, but of faces. Employees, clients, interns, each saying one word, respect. Amara passed by once, pausing only a second. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. Outside, a reporter shouted, "Miss Lewis, what's your message to the world after all this?" She turned slightly, her eyes catching the light. "Don't wait to be underestimated to know your worth," she said. Then she walked away, leaving cameras, questions, and a world still catching up to her silence. 2 months later, a quiet memo circulated through the corporate world. Former Vantage executives permanently blacklisted for ethical violations. No press conference. No spectacle. Just the weight of consequence, delivered in silence, Amara's signature at the bottom like a full stop. Richard Dean read it in a cafe, hands trembling around a paper cup. His reflection in the window looked older, smaller. He tried to blame luck, timing, anyone but himself. But deep down, he knew it wasn't Amara who destroyed him. It was the mirror she held up. Across the city, Amara stood on the 47th floor of her tower, watching dawn spill across the skyline. Janelle approached. "Closure?" Amara shook her head. "No. Continuity. The work doesn't stop when justice feels good." She turned from the window, her tone quiet but absolute. "Now we build something better, not louder." The city below caught the morning light, golden and clean like forgiveness earned, not granted. Evening fell over the city like velvet, soft, unhurried, reflective. Amara stood alone in the now empty showroom, the hum of silence wrapping around her like peace finally earned. The lights from the ceiling shimmered across the polished cars, but she wasn't looking at them. She was looking at her reflection, not in the glass, but in the journey. Tessa appeared at the door. "Everything's locked, ma'am. Do you want the press statement drafted?" Amara shook her head. "No need. The story's already told." She placed her hand on the hood of the silver car one last time. "Dignity doesn't need headlines," she whispered. "It just needs witnesses." She walked toward the exit, the same door that once tried to reject her, and paused. "For the record," she said softly, "I never crashed their empire. They did. I just collected the keys. We ever better done find the brain out with the braid in Brody." Outside, the city lights caught her silhouette, quiet, commanding, unbroken. And as she disappeared into the night, one truth lingered in the air. Power doesn't shout, it simply arrives.